It's time for the outside view. We go to Chicago, ESPN 1000's Jeff Dickerson. I was listening to Dickerson on the radio the other night on my drive home, and I heard a lot more about this game. We'll get his takes on the game live from Chicago tonight, where the Eagles take on the Bears. Soldier Field. Jeff, welcome back. How are you, pal?
Guys, it is a pleasure to be back, and I'm telling you, it is a picture-perfect night for football. It'll be about 75 degrees at kickoff, not a cloud in the sky, and I have to also say, lots of Eagles fans in Chicago this weekend. They have made their presence known doing the show today at our ESPN 1000 studios. We have a studio that's right on State Street in downtown Chicago with the windows and lots of Eagles people walking by. So I think there'll be a lot of fans here tonight representing the Eagles.
I heard that they infiltrated the town over there, and a lot of people excited after Carson Wentz's first game. Let's get your take on the buzz, if any, generated by the Bears entering the year, and then, of course, after a Week 1 loss, what is the hope for the Bears now 2 weeks into or entering Week 2 of the season?
It's so great you say that because I've done this now. This is my 12th year. My first season was Lovie Smith's first in 2004, and I cannot remember a team that has had less buzz around it, not just nationally, but also locally. It's a strange group. You know, on one hand, the Bears will be better than the team they put out there last year in John Fox's first season. They were 6-10 last year. I mean, they spent some money this offseason to upgrade the defense. Danny Trevathan, Jarrell Freeman, Akeem Hicks. They drafted Leonard Floyd 9th overall. But, you know, they lost some serious pieces. I mean, Martellus Bennett, Matt Forte, 2 years gone now is Brandon Marshall. So it's, they'll be better. They'll be competitive. But I still don't think this is a playoff team, as most people around town would agree. What the Bears have to avoid tonight, guys, it's very simple. Look, this is a Cubs town right now, and with the postseason starting in a matter of weeks, if the Bears go 0-2 and keep losing games at Soldier Field, they were 1-7 here last year, this town is going to forget about them, essentially. So they're playing for a lot of pride tonight. This is a game that a lot of people, at least locally, think the Bears should win. If they do not, for whatever reason, it's going to be difficult for this regime, because I think the pressure's on to finally start showing the people in this city some results.
Interesting that you said a lot of people expect them to win out there. And, I think a lot of people here locally look at the Bears as a team that, based on last week, that the Eagles have a good shot against, and that is because of Carson Wentz. Was he a hot topic? Well, let's say this. Because of his performance, people feel better than, like you said, this Eagles team, when Bradford was here, the buzz was very minimal. This was not a season that was highly anticipated. That kind of changed 8 days before the season started, and then Wentz goes out and performs. Was Wentz a hot topic of conversation this week in Chicago?
I mean, it wasn't Pennsylvania until Bradford got traded, right, to the Vikings. Oh, absolutely. I think this is a great matchup. Carson Wentz has absolutely been discussed in Chicago because, remember, hey, look, the Bears don't have that next quarterback on the horizon. It's weird. I mean, you look around the NFL and you see all these young guys stepping up and playing. The Bears could have drafted Dak Prescott. They had 3 fourth-round picks that they took before the Cowboys took Prescott late in the 4th round. They had a book on Jacoby Brissett. They didn't draft him. Cody Kessler is going to start now for the Browns this weekend. So when Wentz's name is brought up in Chicago, at least this week, it's along the lines of, well, look how proactive the Eagles were trying to find that quarterback. They had Chase Daniel, they had Sam Bradford, but they still went out and made the move to get Carson Wentz. When are the Bears going to do that? What's going to happen when the Jay Cutler era is over? He can't play forever. So, yeah, I think Wentz, no doubt, has been a big talking point this week, and I can't wait to see how he plays. I watched that game against the Browns. I rewatched it. It looked fantastic. I do wonder, though, if the Bears will show him some different looks. And I think, all things equal, it is a better Bears defense he'll be facing tonight than the one he saw last week in Cleveland.
We're spending a few minutes with Jeff Dickerson from ESPN Chicago. Well, a couple names that Eagles fans know about on the Bears roster pretty well are Alshon Jeffrey and Kevin White. What have you seen out of those receivers so far? And should the Eagles fans be concerned, especially Jeffrey?
Yeah, I would definitely be concerned about Alshon Jeffrey. He is playing for a major contract next offseason. He got the tag this year. He's making good money. But he is, when healthy, he is a game changer. And I think you saw that in their Week 1 game against the Texans. In the first half, he had 105 yards receiving. In the second half, the Bears totally unraveled on offense. Jeffrey got like 2 targets. It was a mess. But when he is right and they're right offensively, he's a dangerous weapon. Hard to say about Kevin White. I mean, the 7th overall pick in 2015 made a real bad mistake against Houston, ran the wrong route. Cutler was intercepted, and then the whole thing, again, kind of spiraled out of control. The Bears talked a lot this week about maybe simplifying things for Kevin White. That's not a good thing to hear about the 7th overall pick, but I don't think he can run the route tree the way they want him to. He missed all of last season. He played at West Virginia, which was a very simplistic offense. I think the best thing for Kevin White tonight would be to make a big play early in the game, get the crowd on his side, because if he has a couple drops or struggles, just doesn't look good. So if I'm the Eagles going in tonight, I'm definitely concerned about Alshon Jeffrey, but I still have a pretty big question mark with Kevin White.
And remember, guys, the Eagles are just rolling with 3 corners because McKelvin's out, so that should be an interesting chess match.
Hey, Jeff, Bears coach John Fox seemed very critical of Jeremy Langford's performance in Week 1, and then after seeing what Forte did on Thursday night, do you anticipate that Langford has a bigger role tonight?
I think if Langford doesn't improve early, you're going to see them introduce some other running backs. They've got 2 other guys on the 53. Both were active last week. One did not play, and that's their 5th-round pick, Jordan Howard, out of Indiana, who played at UAB before that program closed. Then he went to Indiana. Howard is a physical guy, had a pretty good preseason, great 4th preseason game, but again, did not play last week because the Bears did not run enough plays in the second half. Kadeem Carey is someone that they'll use. He's kind of a change of pace guy, again, a more physical runner. But the point is this. So Jeremy Langford has a lot of potential, a lot of talent, but he only averaged 3.3 yards per touch last week, and he was being tackled by the ankles. Now, guys, the Bears invested all this money at guard. They got Josh Sitton. They got Kyle Long, who's got an extension. The holes were there. Langford wasn't hitting them. So I don't think he's got a very long leash. So, yes, I think that they will try to get him going early, try to get the running game going early. But if they're not happy with him, they will not hesitate to go to plan B and C in the backfield.
So I shouldn't have drafted him in the 3rd round of my fantasy draft, thinking he was going to be – he played really well last year in Forte's absence. I guess enough to let Forte walk. But you just mentioned the line. I look at the Bears guards, Jeff, and let's see if you agree. They've got really good interior play. Their tackles are terrible. The Eagles' defense, they don't like to blitz. They had that wide 9, but Jay Cutler, 7-3. In 10 games against Jim Schwartz's defense. So if the Eagles don't pressure Cutler and they don't do it with the blitz, you wonder if the Eagles' defensive line can get to him. Is this line able to protect tonight? Because the Eagles do have some talent on that front 4.
Oh, they certainly do. That's a great point. Now, I will ease Eagles fans a little bit by reminding them that Jim Schwartz was primarily coaching in Detroit. So it might have been a talent problem more so than a team problem against Cutler. But no, I think it's a great point about the tackles. Now, Charles Leno is their left tackle. He is very technique sound. I don't think he played as well as he could play against Houston, but he's really not. He's not that bad if you really go back and you look at his whole body of work. Plus, he was like a 7th-round pick. So he's a pretty good value there. It's the other guy, Bobby Massey, who they paid some pretty good money to come from Arizona. At the right tackle, looks awful. I mean, Whitney Merciless is still hitting Cutler. A week later, he was so unblocked. And it always worries me when I hear Bruce Arians come out and say, hey, our line in Arizona is so much better this year, especially the right side. Well, the Bears have both their former right offensive linemen. They got their right tackle in Bobby Massey, and Ted Larson was their right guard. He's now their backup center. So that is a concern, obviously, when you hear Bruce Arians say that about the guys the Bears acquired. But, Cutler, you have to protect Cutler. If you don't protect Cutler and he gets hit, he starts seeing the ghosts, and bad things happen. So, yeah, that's going to be – I think that's the matchup within the matchup. How do the Bears keep Cutler clean after he got sacked 5 times last week? If he's facing the same type of pressure and the Eagles are getting home, I have a hard time seeing that Bears offense clicking.
Jeff, one of the things you said that jumped out at me is that it's a Cubs town, and that if the Bears were to lose tonight, they could literally be off the radar so bad. I think of the losing culture under Mark Trestman and them trying to change things around. Well, they did spend money on free agents this offseason. They brought a lot of people in. Who are the people they brought in your opinion, that are making the biggest difference right now?
Yeah, I would say the linebackers again. I really would. Trevathan and Jarrell Freeman. They're going to be the under-the-radar type guys, because in this defense, as you know, that ILB positions, those guys do the dirty work. I mean, Freeman, after the game, had 17 tackles according to the press box stats we get, and Trevathan had a sack, and they're very sturdy players. I think Akeem Hicks is going to be really good against run support on the defensive line. He's a big body. He kind of busted out in New Orleans. When they traded him to the Patriots for the final 13 games last year, he really hit his stride. So I think those three guys, in particular, I look at. And then, the Massey signing is a little iffy right now. But investing back in Kyle Long is important. All those guys, he is not 100%. He's got a torn labrum in his left shoulder. I don't know when it's going to go, but at some point this year it could go. So keep an eye on that. And then Josh Sitton, who no one expected to be available. So, yeah, they have spent money, but this is the problem when you miss the playoffs 8 out of 9 years. Is that you've given yourself no benefit of the doubt. And that, I think, is the issue the Bears are struggling with. It's always been a Bears town, but they got to show people something tonight. Otherwise, it's going to be, hey, I'll see you in November. And by that point, who knows what the record will be.
All right, Jeff Dickerson, ESPN 1000, Eagles-Bears tonight. Right here on 97.3 ESPN. The coverage starts at 7:30 with the pregame show. Merrill and Mike have the call at the top of the hour. You kind of said earlier that Bears fans think that this is a game that they should win. Do you have the feeling that the Bears can rebound? That's a good Texans team they lost to last week, and Philly obviously dominated a bad Browns team. So what's your take on tonight's game in Chicago?
Yeah, the Texans, I think, beating the Chiefs the way they beat them. The Texans don't have the great offense, but that is an unbelievable defense with all those pass rushers, and J.J. Watt isn't even healthy yet. I picked the Bears to win. We have to put our picks in. Tim McManus and myself for ESPN.com. Have to put our picks in. I had the Bears 2017. I thought it would be a very close game, just giving the Bears a 3-point edge here. My feeling is, again, I'm a big Carson Wentz fan. I think the guy's got great potential. Love his size, his arm strength. Seems like he's got a lot of moxie. I like that. But I think it's difficult for a rookie quarterback to consistently play well right out of the chute. I talked to Cutler about that this week. Remember, he got to sit for 11, 12 games as a first-year player behind Jake Plummer before he had to start. Just a lot for him to learn. I think Vic Fangio is a very creative defensive coordinator. So I could see his numbers dipping a little bit. But, offensively for the Bears, I don't know what you're going to get. That's why I thought it would be kind of low scoring. So I did pick the Bears 2017. I think most people in Chicago have picked the Bears. And if they lose, well, it'll be a bad Tuesday if they lose in Chicago, because I think they've raised expectations for this game, and this is one they should get.
Jeff Dickerson with us on ESPN Radio as we talk Eagles-Bears tonight. Jeff, I know that this is sort of off the cuff, but I know that Robbie Gould wasn't re-signed. Was that a huge issue for the Bears, and did they have to? Are they happy with what they got?
Oh, I think that's a huge issue. We haven't seen it yet. It's funny. It's a great point to bring up tonight, because Connor Barth is the Bears' new kicker, and he hasn't kicked in a game at Soldier Field since the first game of his rookie year preseason. That was 2008, 2009. Now, this is a very difficult place to kick. You can ask, and the Bears have been very fortunate. I mean, after Kevin Butler retired, it was the kicker on the 85 Bears. They went through kind of a bad period. But then, Robbie took over in 2005, and he has been lights out spectacular. That was a controversial move. I don't know if the Bears made the right call on that one. But, yeah, so they got Connor Barth. This is a guy that the GM wanted to get. He knew him from New Orleans. But, yeah, I mean, it would be very fitting if they missed a field goal tonight to win the game. But, Connor Barth is experienced. So I don't think it's a huge drop-off. But, Robbie Gould is the all-time leader in points scored in this franchise. So to think that that's just going to be a seamless transition and they're not going to miss him at all, that's what the Bears think. I'm telling you right now, they're dead wrong. There's going to be times this year when they miss Robbie Gould.
All right, that's the game tonight, of course. Hey, tell our buddy Matt Caesar out there that we're all watching him here from South Jersey. I know you said the Cubs are taking over the town.
Right.
The Bears, Eagles. Let's ask him who he's cheering for tonight. All right? We'll find out who he's got, right?
We should, yeah, and absolutely. And listen, even if you're the 23rd third guy on the roster this year in Chicago, you are a star. So, I mean, Matt Caesars, the Tommy LaStellas, the Chris Coglins. I mean, this is their time to shine. I can't imagine all the appearances they're turning down
And
and promotions they're turning down. It's great. It's a great time to be a Cub.
Jeff, Mike was worried I was going to ask you Nino's or Giordano's, like which pizza shop. So that's why he was looking at me funny.
Well, he can't see us two looking at
I
each
like them
other.
all.
He can't see that I'm giving you the stink eye, right? Jeff Dickerson, ESPN 1000 here on the
inferred.
Sports Bash 97.3 ESPN. Thanks, Jeff.
You guys have a great night and enjoy the game.